The story begins at a majestic, giant tree where we see a grave with a jacket and a necklace sitting on top of it. A young man sits on the ground with a solemn expression, feeling that everything is his fault as he looks at a necklace in the shape of a bull in his hand. It's the end of the battle that occurred, and someone was betrayed. Upon closer inspection, it seems that he, the protagonist, was the one who was betrayed by a close friend. Unfortunately, due to his arrogance, he has lost all sorts of things: his friend, his colleagues, everyone who was precious to him, everyone he didn't want to lose. All his friends, who meant the world to him and with whom he had made so many memories, are now gone because he couldn't protect any of them. He feels great regret, as if everything is his fault. He begins to have illusions of his one friend attempting to comfort him with his injured, bruised, and weak body, but now his eyes blaze with fury. He must take responsibility with his own hands. As he begins to leave, a person questions if he is truly going. He replies that he is, but he expects him to remain there. The person declares that he, as a guard of Hunghai, has failed in his duty, and his mistake has resulted in this tragedy. This is the consequence of his failure. Everyone has died, and he has now buried himself in guilt. He knows that the protagonist plans to take revenge. However, he informs him that revenge is against the morality of those in Hunghai. Rin tells him to look around. This place was never so silent. It used to be filled with cheers, laughter, and his friends, but now only silence remains. This land was once full of flowers, but now only the graves of the innocent remain. They believe that their hopes are shattered. On that day when he was betrayed, he died too. From now on, he will not be the guard of Hunghai. He is now Rin, the Avenger. He will hunt down all those who wronged him and make them pay 1,000 times over. The next scene shows him arriving in a village. As he enters, a person in the guard post notices him. He believes he is a foreigner due to his appearance and assumes he is foolish, so he decides to inform him about the important things. This village is where Sakgung reigns. If he wants to enter, he must pay an entrance fee of 500 silvers. He questions if this village is now under someone's control and points out that everyone appears to be a parasite in his eyes. When he tries to walk away, the guard insists that he must pay the fee. He rummages through his pocket, ignoring the guard, and then questions if he's ever seen the person who is in this portrait before. Rin comments that he's a good-looking young man with white hair, and the guard remarks that he's never seen him before. However, he gets back to the point, declaring that he won't stand by and watch if he continues to ignore him. As Rin walks away, he asserts that this place never had restrictions in the first place. He places a hand on the protagonist's shoulder, his veins pumping with adrenaline, insisting that he doesn't seem to have heard what he said. The protagonist retorts that he always discards the things he doesn't want to hear. However, he does have one thing to ask. When did people like him start asking for entrance fees? Isn't this place supposed to be managed by Hunghai? Upon hearing his words, the guard's eyes widen in disbelief. He laughs and comments that he can't believe there is someone who still believes such things. He places a hand on the protagonist's shoulder and explains that it's been 5 years since the fall of Great Hunghai. So does he truly think the world is ruled by weaklings like him? He declares that those days will never come back. This is now a world dominated by the strong, so he should stop messing around. The protagonist questions what he has to be proud of if this world is dominated by the strong, noting that he doesn't seem to be one of them. The guard turns in anger and questions what he means by that. The protagonist declares that people like him, who don't know whether this is good or bad for his world, only crawled into positions of power after the fall of Hunghai. The protagonist attacks the guard with his shadows, declaring that he can't even determine who is standing before him, so what makes him so proud of himself? Filled with fear, sweat runs down the guard's face as he grits his teeth. He finally realizes that this is a shadow. He was talking as if the world were a jungle, yet he didn't know where he belonged. How dare he humiliate this person before him? The protagonist releases him, and he tries to catch his breath. If status is measured by how weak a person is, then he can't even see his own shadow on the ground. He looks up at the protagonist and realizes that he can't move. He is still being held by the shadows. Suddenly, the shadows sharpen into points and aim at his eyes. The protagonist questions if he still plans to stop him from going inside. Not wanting to lose an eye, the guard tells him to go straight inside. Upon seeing this, he initially thinks the protagonist doesn't have the guts, but he pierces the guard. The guard screams, covering his face, and questions why. He told him to go. The protagonist declares that this is the price for humiliating Hung Hai, so he should consider his left eye as the entrance fee. Next time he talks about something, he will think twice before uttering such words. When the protagonist leaves, the guard reflects on his eyes and the fact that he can't see anything now. At that moment, a snake enters, looking at the protagonist from afar. Inside his small ramen place, he sits and looks at his food, bringing back memories of when he used to mess around with one of his friends. His friend had revealed that she found a good noodle restaurant in a village and told him to try it out. As she says this, she is drooling, but he informs his friend that he has no interest in it. So, she left. The protagonist begins to eat the noodles when an old man comments that he doesn't seem to be from around here. Rin explains that there is someone he is looking for and shows a picture of him to the old man. The old man explains that he has never seen the unique face before. The noodles were delicious, and he is surprised that he has so few customers, considering he heard the old man once had many. The old man explains that the people in this area don't have the money to buy even a bowl of noodles. A lot has changed since the fall of Hung Hai 5 years ago. Sensing something strange, he inquires if the protagonist is a follower of Hung Hai. With a fierce glint in his eye, the protagonist questions why he is asking him that. The old man, surprised, comments that he doesn't have to be wary of him. He explains that it's because of the protagonist's accessory. The goblins from that place, who used to protect this village, wore the exact same thing. Still not trusting the old man, the protagonist questions what he is aiming for. The old man explains that without them, the village could have been destroyed already, so he is grateful. It was Hung Hai who had great power and extended its hands to protect creatures like them, but even the symbol of peace that seemed everlasting has been completely destroyed. This village, once under their protection, is now ruled by Sok Gung, the goblin snake. He then places an item on the table known as the Crimson Star plaque of Hung Hai. The old man comments passing goblins won't dare to touch him. If a person is caught with this plaque, they will be considered a traitor, but he still does not throw it away. The protagonist looks at the plaque, pondering why he is sharing this with him if it could put his life in danger. Does he really think he should trust him because of it? It might just be something that looks exactly like it. The old man explains that this plaque bears the engraving of a crimson star, a different star from Hung Hai. He tells him to be careful in this village. You never know what kind of trouble those snake people will bring him. They are vicious and authoritative. Most of all, the protagonist needs to be careful of Sashin, someone who loves to show off his status. He is a madman with a bell on his head. The bell is used to signify his arrival. When he enters, all eyes are on him, and he demands respect. So, the ruler of this village is a psychopath. The old man explains that these people are nothing but parasites, draining the villagers dry. And that's not all, there's more. The reason it's so quiet is that everyone is afraid to go out and be humiliated. Suddenly, the old man hears a commotion, and fear paralyzes him, causing his eyes to widen. He immediately jumps off the table and tries to drag the protagonist away, attempting to hide him. A voice cuts through the air, questioning where he is going with his short legs. Before them stands a hideous person wearing too much makeup. The ugly guy exclaims, if you hear the sound of the bells, you must show respect. This person needs no introduction. He is Sashin. The old man's face goes pale as he questions why such a person is here. Sashin comments that he is asking an odd question. Does he need permission to walk around this village, or does he want to report what he has done? An overwhelming feeling of intimidation looms over them. The guard then points at the protagonist, declaring that he entered without paying. With a calm expression, Sashin questions if he is sure, and the guard confirms it. The guard expresses that he should have taken both of his eyes out. However, Sashin does it for the protagonist. The guard falls to the ground, a whimpering expression on his face, as Sashin comments that his useless eyes couldn't even spot a bug like him. Sashin picks up a bowl of ramen and declares that Rin has the manners of a bug, then pours the ramen over the protagonist's face. Silence envelopes the area as the old man stares in shock and the guard stares in confusion. She wipes ramen from her face, glaring at him. Before the situation can escalate, the old man apologizes, falling on his knees. He declares that an old man like him wasn't able to hear the sound of his bell. Sashin, pleased by this, comments that this is how he should act when he sees him. However, he must wonder if the child has turned into a rock for him to be so rude to him. It seems pouring soup all over his face was not enough. Now he wants him to kneel down before him. The old man grabs him, dragging him to his knees and lowering his head. In a pleading voice, he declares that he is sorry for his carelessness. However, Sashin believes that looking at him like that is a sin, just imagining his face. If they go against him, they should be ready to pay the price. Meanwhile, Rin is shaking, pondering why he is on his knees. The old man has a pained expression on his face, contorting in a way that suggests he has committed a great sin. It's all because he didn't inform him about the rules in the first place. He falls to his knees, declaring that this old man will accept any punishment he gives him. Suddenly, Sashin begins to laugh hysterically, commenting that it seems this old man thinks highly of himself. Does he want him to use his body to ease his anger? He should know his place, and as he said before, he has been bothered since earlier. Showing the plaque, he asks, "Whose disgusting plaque is this?" Fear creeps onto the old man's face, and Sashin asks again, "Whose plaque is this?" Sashin responds, "Carrying such a plaque is first-class treason." Sweat runs down the old man's face as he tries to come up with something. However, Rin intervenes, declaring that the plaque is his, with a nonchalant expression. She requests to be let go, her voice laced with a hint of sarcasm. Fury at this perceived arrogance is evident. Out of all the things, this is considered unforgivable. Sashin breaks the plaque as he declares that Rin is an insect among insects, ordering the guard to bring the arrogant child to the palace. As he walks away, he declares that at noon tomorrow, he will decide in front of everyone what will happen to those who rebel against him. Suddenly, a pebble hits his hat. Sashin glances back, looking confused, while the old man is petrified. Rin questions why he has to wait until tomorrow. Isn't he busy today? Just how busy is he that he can't even take him there personally? Rin strikes him, ripping off a piece of him in the process, and declares that if he is busy, he should just wait quietly at home because he will show him the manners he likes so much. Snakes begin to reform his body, as it seems that Rin doesn't value his life. "Well, you only live once, so live to the fullest," he commented. It makes sense that he was struggling due to his impending death. Sashin takes a cup of tea and comments that he is just an insect. Meanwhile, at Sakgung province, the Cheon Ryan is informed that there's a guy who looks like he has lost his mind. Ryan inquires what he plans to do with that person. Sashin announces that he will capture that insect and execute him in front of everyone tomorrow at noon, doing this to strengthen their village and enforce their regulations. This means that if they get rid of him, they can raise their status even more. She questions what he wants her to do, noting that he needs his mother to step up, but this will make noise at night. They call for his subordinate Nan Ong. Sashin declares that he will leave this to him, as Rin is a good person laying golden eggs, so he must be brought back alive, which might be a bit difficult for their faithful servant. Currently, the old man looks at the palm of his hand, staring at the ring that Rin gave him. Earlier, he questioned why she did that. Does he believe that he has many lives? Due to his actions, Rin's ears begin to ring. The old man, laying his head to Rin's chest, questions if he does not care for his life. At that moment, he begins to remove his earrings, stating that he can leave these to a person like him. He hands her the earrings and declares that the name of the owner of these earrings is Chorim. The owner of these earrings was an idiot who only knew how to fight, but she was a proud and honorable guard who fought until the end. She was different from him. It's heavy for him to carry them around, but he can have them. Chorim used to come here a lot. However, the old man is quite confused. He doesn't understand what he is saying. The name has already been lost, but Rin hopes that he will remember the name Hung Hai. After the guy leaves, the old man cannot believe that someone is still alive in Hung Hai. This person is known as the Shadow User Goblin, the strongest of them all, the Seven Shadows, the Sword Ghost Rin. In the next scene, Rin arrives at the temple, surprised, and Nanhong wonders if he is confident or just crazy. They didn't have to look for him. It's great that their hiding spot was so obvious. Despite the overwhelming difference in their numbers, each opponent is more difficult and powerful than the last. He simply raises his hand and requests everyone's attention. He explains that he doesn't have business with these guys, so what are they doing risking their lives for nothing? All they have to do is put down their weapons and step aside. One of them comments that he is being crazy. Does he know what this place is? And does he know who they are? They are the warriors in Sakgung, and it's their mission to capture him. As he says this, he lunges toward him, but he knocks him aside, causing him to fall to the ground. Injured, another challenger approaches. He tries to tell them to move and not fight, but the person believes that he is extremely arrogant for a child. They were told to capture him alive, which means it doesn't matter what they do to him as long as he remains alive. He lunges at our protagonist, believing that he will be able to crush him with one punch. However, Rin blocks his attack, and with one powerful punch, he breaks the guy's jaw. Then he grabs him by the mouth, slamming him to the ground, defeated. The other warriors can't believe it. They are shaking in fear that he defeated two of their strongest warriors with just 2 hits. Suddenly, their leader declares, "What are you scared of? This is the order of Sashin. If we fail, we'll be beheaded as punishment. This is a situation where your life is at risk, and nothing is more honorable than dying on a mission." She finally realizes that this isn't just blind confidence. She needs to fight him with everything she has. She orders everyone to release the treasure equipment. The treasure equipment is an ornament made up of special metals and one soul, enabling the goblins to use their stored power explosively and release it. She praises them for making a smart decision, but warns that the funeral is just beginning. Nanhong declares that from now on, with all their strength, they will capture him. All their warriors scream in unison to capture that guy. He declares that once they start, he will never stop, so they shouldn't regret this. One warrior swings down at him, but breaks his jaw in the process with a punch to the face from Rin. Another guy attacks from behind. Rin kicks him in the face, knocking him out. Yet another warrior jumps in the air with a giant axe, while 2 others attack from both sides. He takes a moment to look from the right to the left, as inches away from his head are their swords. He avoids all of it, jumping into the air, delivering a flying kick to the face of the warrior wielding a sword, knocking it away before throwing it at another guy. Afterward, he knocks another opponent off their feet with a kick to the face. At that moment, another warrior uses chains to try to capture him, but he remains calm nonetheless. The guy comments that he can't move right with an arrogant expression. However, he spots an axe nearby. Using the strength of her feet, she kicks it toward him, causing him to lose his grip. It becomes clear from his combat sense that he isn't an ordinary person. However, the goblin girl believes that she can end him. He throws a chain at her, but she runs on top of it. Suddenly, hands spring up from the ground, grabbing Rin's leg. He is taken off guard but seemingly surprised. She jumps into the air while he is frozen in place, and with a smile, she declares that this is the end of his rampage. She uses her greatest move, Great Disastrous Calamity. His eyes open wide as he stares at it. In the next scene, we see Sashin drinking tea when the door opens and his subordinate arrives with Rin. She kicks him inside, causing him to fall to the ground. Sashin comments that he jumped right into the fire. He doesn't know when to back down, just like a moth drawn to the flame. Sashin understands his attitude and pride. It looks like he used to be strong, but what can he do? No matter how much he flies and crawls, he is now beneath his feet. Rin comments that dozens of his men had lost their lives to capture him, but here he is, spouting nonsense like a loser. What's the purpose of the sacrifice of his men? Sashin grabs a sword and comments that even in this state, he still doesn't know when to stop with her arrogant remarks. It's best that he stops if he knows what's good for him. Nanhong grabs Rin and tells him to lift his head. However, his face is hollow. Rin declares that it doesn't mean anything. Nanhong is stunned and confused by the situation. Suddenly, Rin's body that was kneeling on the ground shifts into shadows, piercing all of them. However, Sashin does not die but sustains heavy injuries, looking at his bleeding hands with rage in his eyes. Rin appears out of nowhere and calls them fools, declaring that this is way of showing manners. How was it? Do you like it? Nanhong holds her injured hand and realizes that what she saw was the clone. But since when? Sashin, burning with rage, shouts, "Get me his head," so I can appreciate it when she hears his order. She rushes towards him, believing that she can defeat him. Rin simply uses his shadows, overpowering her as if she is nothing more than a doll. He wraps the shadow around her neck, squeezing tightly and making it impossible for her to breathe. Rin smirks, having thought of something fun. He releases her neck, and she falls to the ground. Moments later, she feels a strain in her body, and Sashin looks at her, confused. She slowly approaches him and tries to inform him that something is wrong with her body. That's when she slaps him in the face, unable to believe what she has done. She screams in shock. Even her inner self is scared. He glares at her as she questions if she did what he thinks she did. She lowers her head and apologizes, declaring that it's not like that at all. Suddenly, she strikes him in the face again, but at the last moment, he easily blocks it. He throws her against the wall, calling her incompetent. Looking to the side, he notices a shadow-like string. He uses his elongated hand to strike through the wall, attacking Rin. However, Rin had already dodged it easily. Rin contemplates that Sashin is a very sharp guy. This is harder than he thought. Sashin, feeling arrogant, uses his arm to strike at Rin from behind, causing him to crash through a wall. He is then captured by snakes that wrap around him, and he feels a creeping sense of dread coming from them. Sashin realizes that he is capable of using shadow powers. He can't believe that his servant couldn't even bring him a beggar's head. There seems to be nothing but trash in this place. Rin inquires why Sashin keeps aiming for his head, questioning whether it's a disgusting habit. If you want a head so badly, there are plenty outside. You can go take a look. However, they are in horrible shape, so I'm not sure if that suits your tastes. Sashin hisses, commenting that Rin is quite the talker. Rin remarks that he is also very good at fighting. The snakes envelop him, but at that very moment, Rin envelopes himself in shadows as well. Immediately, the snakes are ripped apart as if they were nothing but paper. He punches Sashin in the face, causing him to fly back and crash into the wall. Rin hopes that he is not finished yet, as he has something to ask. Sashin's face is heavily injured. He's in a lot of pain, yet he shouts at Rin, attempting to strike him. Rin dodges with ease. Sashin declares that for someone like him, he doesn't need a plan or to care at all. He will end Rin's life right here, right now. He summons 2 golden serpents and strikes with these bloodthirsty creatures, declaring that he will end Rin right now. However, Rin quickly dodges, seemingly annoyed. As other snakes close in, he comments that Sashin is really violent. Using his own technique, Rin copies the giant snakes, creating his own shadow serpents that overpower the golden serpents. Sashin is shocked at this move. Nanhong can't believe that the spirit technique was copied so easily. Rin declares that pets should play with pets. In an instant, Rin appears beside Sashin and retorts, "I told you about my purpose, didn't I?" With a powerful punch, he strikes Sashin in the head. However, Sashin follows up with a kick to the stomach, but Rin easily deflects it. He grabs Sashin's leg and uses his strength to lift him into the air, swinging him around as if he is nothing. He spins him so fast that he becomes like a tornado, then shoots him upwards into the wall. Despite being heavily injured and probably having some broken bones, Sashin declares, "You beggar." But not long after, a giant shadow snake appears before him. Gathering his strength, Sashin declares, "Don't underestimate me." Suddenly, the golden snake begins to tear through the shadow serpents. Rin does a backflip in the air and dodges the attack. Nanhong, observing the fight, believes Rin is being careless. This is her chance to pierce Sashin's head. As she stares at her weapon, a shadow pierces the wall inches away from her head. Rin tells her to stay still and leave him alone, warning her that he might take her life for real. When she looks into his eyes, it's obvious he's not joking. At that moment, she feels something, realizing that who she is facing is nothing less than a demon. She lowers her head, shaking profusely, and begins to laugh. Rin tells her that she's doing the right thing. Just look at the ground as she can't do anything. Rin leaps off the ground and jumps to the top of a building. He tells Sashin that he should stop wasting his time. To Rin's surprise, he sees a group of snakes coming from Sashin's clothes. Suddenly, a hand appears from nowhere, grabbing Rin's face and pushing him off the building, slamming him into the ground. Sashin exclaims, "I told you not to be arrogant." However, Rin handles it nonchalantly, commenting that even his snake form is disgusting. It seems like Sashin has everything Rin hates. Just because he can stretch doesn't mean Rin can't cut him down. As Rin accidentally cuts something off, Sashin turns to see that it was part of his hand. Rin declares that he should try to be a little tougher. He cut it off all too easily. Sashin's hand begins to regenerate quickly, but he is furious. He performs the same attack again, extending his hand, but Rin dodges easily. Grabbing Sashin's hand and dragging him towards him, Rin delivers an uppercut to his face. Then Rin jumps into the air and executes a flying kick to Sashin's face, causing him to crash to the ground like a meteorite. Nanhong is scared. She can't believe he is able to defeat her master. To make matters worse, he still hasn't used his treasure yet. Below, Sashin is bruised and injured. Rin questions why Sashin would touch a person who is just eating peacefully, not once, but twice. Not understanding his situation, Sashin questions Rin's audacity. Rin explains that Sashin has a bad personality and must pay for his sins. He pours some tea into a cup and asks, "Do you remember what you did before?" Sashin comments, "Why would I remember something about a beggar like you?" Rin declares that he doesn't care as he begins pouring tea on Sashin's face, quickly wiping the smirk off Sashin's face. Rin states that it doesn't matter because he remembers it all too well. After that, he slams Sashin's head into the pavement. As he prepares to strike him again, he declares that the thing that Sashin pierced him with was not just an implication or an emblem, it was his heart. Therefore, Rin will destroy his heart as well. Sashin declares that for a beggar, Rin is truly proud of himself, but in the end, he made Sashin do this. Sashin announces that he will use the treasure within his body. In a few moments, Sashin begins to transform into a snake, declaring that Rin cannot end his life.